everybody, and welcome to another Interstellar Modeler. In this video, I'm going to tackle my first figure model. So as you can see, this is a kit of Dr. Leonard McCoy. It measures 12 inches tall and is made of vinyl, made by AMT, given to me by my friend Mark Fraley, who's really good at painting figure models. Let me go ahead and show you some of his work here. So I've seen a number of figure models at model shows, and I've been very, very impressed, and sometimes even just in awe of how these modelers can make these guys look realistic. So the challenge, of course, is not so much assembly, but really the painting and making him look lifelike and giving him some dimension here. So let's go ahead and take a look inside the box. So as you can see, there's not much to it. There are literally just the parts of the figure. We have his head, which has a likeness of DeForest Kelley, and of course the legs, the arms, upper torso, and the hands. Comes with a tricorder, as well as something that looks like a transporter pad. So the material that this is made of is vinyl, so it obviously is different than styrene plastic. And what we're going to do first of all is to trim away these areas of excess here, and that's going to be done with an X-Acto knife after dipping it in hot water. After that, we're going to go ahead and prime it. I'm going to use Badger's Stynylrez primer. That's my favorite primer right now. And once that's done, we'll start applying the different colors that we need. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I boiled up some water and just allowing these pieces to set here for a minute or two. I already did the hands, and sure enough, the water does soften up the vinyl. It makes it very, very easy to trim with your X-Acto knife. Alright, next thing to do now is to mix some plaster of Paris and to pour it into the bottom half of the figure. Alright, well, it got a little messy, but I was able to pour enough plaster into the legs there, so I'm going to go ahead and let that dry. Since I had a bunch left over, I decided to take a wooden base like this that I got at Michael's and just pour it onto it and just mold it into something that hopefully we can use for our figure here. So I'm going to go ahead and let all this dry and get you caught up with me here in just a second. Alright, now that the plaster Paris is nice and solid here, I'm going to go ahead and set this aside and begin work on the upper torso. I'm going to go ahead and glue the arms on. First I'm going to rough it up a little bit with sandpaper here just to promote some adhesion, and then I'll work on the seams with some putty. Alright, this is how it's looking so far. I applied the first layer of putty, and there's definitely a big gap here on this side, so that's going to take a couple applications. So I'm going to allow this to dry, apply yet another layer of putty, and then we'll begin the sanding process. Alright, so the seams have been addressed now, and I'm going to go ahead and paint this the blue color that I've chosen. So I'm going to go ahead and use this color here. This is by Americana. It's craft paint called Blue Lagoon, and it was suggested by Dr. Faust's paint clinic. He actually did a build-up of the Spock vinyl figures, and he used this color, and it looked pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, in order to thin this for your airbrush, you have to use, or it's suggested anyway, use wiper fluid. It's basically the stuff you use for your windshield. And you do a 50-50 mixture of this and the paint. Alright, this is how the shirt's looking so far. I'm going to go ahead and give this some time to dry. Well, if the shirt's looking a little different, it's because it is. I decided to repaint it. The main reason was because it wasn't drying flat. Now I realized when I got back from the store that this was a satin finish paint, but I was hoping that applying a dull coat would be enough to make it dry flat, but it wasn't. So rather than going back to buy more paint, I decided just to do what I should have done to begin with, and that's to mix my own. I went with that color because you know, I saw it on a YouTube video, as I mentioned earlier, but since I was going to repaint it, I decided to tone down the brightness of the color. After applying it, initially it looked a little too bright to me, so what I did was I decided to mix some of the blues that I had on hand here. I have this light sea blue from Vallejo, which actually is very close to the Blue Lagoon. And then I mixed in this azure blue, along with some white and came up with a color that's more of a sky blue. So I'm much more happier with this. It's not only drying flatter, but it's less bright as well. So this bottom half of the model used flat black for both the pants and the boots. However, with the boots I applied a semi-gloss finish. I didn't use a full gloss because the boots really weren't all that shiny on the TV show. Look a bit shiny here though because we're getting some reflection from the window, but I think the semi-gloss works pretty well. You can see I'm making some progress here with the display base. I decided to paint a black base coat first before moving ahead with some earth tones here. Alright, well it's time now to work on the head. I've primed it with the Steino Res primer. And I've been watching some YouTube videos, not only Mark Fraley's work, but also came across this guy named Darren Carnell, who is from England, and he is an exceptional, I'm just going to call him artist, with painting heads of figures. You should really check out his website. You can see it here at the bottom. You will be amazed at the type of detail he adds to these heads, and really just very, very exceptional work. So I'm going to follow along with his videos. He has produced one that is a video of him painting a Captain Kirk head. This figure is based on the newer movies. It's Chris Pine. And so I'm just going to kind of follow his lead there and see if I can, you know, get somewhat close. No, I doubt I can duplicate it, but I'm going to give it a shot. And so what I'm going to do now is end this video here because I'd like to spend a bit of time showing you how I'm going to paint this head. So I will then see you in part 2. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me here on my YouTube channel or at illustratorthemodeler@gmail.com. I'll see you then in part 2. Take care.